All right, Teen Mom. OG fans, buckle up. Because the past year has been anything but quiet, and let's just say the cast has been moving like the cameras never stop rolling. We're talking family dynamic shifting, jaw-dropping life moments nobody saw coming, and the kind of behind-the-scenes tension that can flip a whole storyline overnight. In this video, we're catching up on the entire Teen Mom OG cast, so hit like, settle in, and let's get into it. Over the past year, Maci Bookout McKinney keeps showing the world what her life looks like when the cameras aren't the whole story anymore. When it's the quiet milestones that hit the hardest. There's this steady, grounded rhythm in what she shares, and it always circles back to one thing: her kids growing up right in front of her. On August 12, 2025, she posts that back-to-school moment that so many parents know in their bones. The photos, the porch, the familiar setup, and then the sudden shock of seeing how much has changed anyway. It isn't just the new school year. It's the way their faces look older. The way their posture says they're becoming their own people. Maci frames it like a yearly checkpoint, the kind that makes you blink and realize time doesn't slow down just because you want it to. And then the milestones keep coming, one after another, like the universe is nudging her to look closer. Bentley, her first baby, the boy who's been growing up alongside her entire public story, hits 17, and Maci can't hide how stunned she feels. She posts it plainly, emotionally, like she's saying it out loud to convince herself. "How is my Benny 17 years old? Happy birthday, E. Bentley Sedwards. I love you beyond measure." It's one of those moments where the words are simple but heavy, because 17 isn't a cute little number. 17 is nearly grown. 17 is a young man. And for Maci, it's the kind of birthday that doesn't just celebrate him, it reminds her how far she's come too. That same emotional truth shows up in the way she talks about Bentley's independence. When he gets his driver's license, it lands like a punch to the heart. She openly admits she wants to crawl into a hole because pride and fear can live in the same breath when your kid starts driving alone. She's not trying to perform confidence. She's telling the real thing: the racing thoughts, the protective instinct, the awareness that freedom comes with risk. And she doesn't just feel it. She responds to it the way a careful mom does, by talking boundaries and safety, especially when it comes to her younger kids, Jade and Maverick, and what it means for Bentley to be behind the wheel with them. But the most complicated developments aren't just about age and growing up. They're about the relationships around Bentley and what it takes to protect him while still allowing space for change. Throughout this year, Maci's dynamic with Ryan Edwards continues to be covered as something that shifts into a new, more functional place. She talks about co-parenting being improved and how time is so much better spent when the environment is healthier. That change is not described as loud or dramatic. It's described as practical, emotional, and real. There's even a visible ease in the way the situation expands to include Ryan's fiancée, Amanda Connor, with the tone presented as more collaborative than combative. And then there's the moment that makes longtime viewers sit up, because it signals trust in a way that isn't easy to give. The storyline centers on an honest heart-to-heart between Ryan and Bentley. Ryan acknowledging what he missed and openly praising Maci and Taylor for stepping in and protecting Bentley. And after that, Maci agrees to something meaningful: Bentley staying overnight at Ryan's new home. No grand announcement, no fireworks, just a decision that quietly says, we're in a different chapter now. Through all of this, Maci also keeps a firm anchor in her own marriage. On October 8, 2025, she marked 9 years with Taylor McKinney, sharing the kind of message that feels like a toast at the edge of the ocean. Happy 9th anniversary to us. Proud to call you my man. Cheers to many more years together. It's warm, steady, and certain, like she's acknowledging that in the middle of all this change, there are still things she can hold on to. Even her quieter posts feel like little windows into the way she processes life. On Mother's Day, she's out on the river, fishing with her kids, choosing something simple and grounding. And when she shares a message about fear and bravery, being scared doesn't mean you lose. Even the bravest people get scared. It lands like a reflection from someone who knows what it is to raise a family in public, to feel the weight of time, and still keep moving forward anyway. Over the past year, Catelynn Lowell Baltiera moves through a stretch of life that feels both tender and quietly loud at the same time. One part everyday motherhood, one part public history that never really stops echoing. In late January and early spring, the most emotionally charged thread still runs straight through Carly and the adoption story that has followed Catelynn and Tyler for years. In a January 29, 2025 report, Catelynn looks back and says there's something she would change about Carly's adoption, and the weight of that sentence sits heavy because it isn't framed like a reality TV moment. It reads like a woman revisiting an old wound with adult eyes, holding grief and clarity at once. A few weeks later, on February 7, 2025, she and Tyler describe taking a pause. In their relationship with Carly, language that sounds careful and protective, like two people trying to stop bleeding by finally pressing down on the place that hurts. Then, on April 2, 2025, another clear detail lands. They explain why they haven't had a visit in 2 years, and that fact alone makes the distance feel real in a way fans can't ignore. By May 2, 2025, Catelynn puts even more words to it, saying she felt very coerced. It's a blunt, grown-up sentence, direct, specific, and unmistakably emotional. Like, she's naming something she wasn't allowed to name when she was younger. And yet, right alongside those big, life-defining reflections, Catelynn's year is also filled with the softer milestones that keep a family moving forward. By May 3, 2025, she's sharing a bright slice of normal life in Nashville, describing a busy day where the girls rot the mat and then everyone heads to urban air. You can almost feel the sound of sneakers on polished floors, the bounce of trampolines, the kind of tired happiness that comes after kids burn off their energy and parents try to bottle the moment before it disappears. It's not flashy, but it's grounding proof that while the public story is complicated, the private rhythm still keeps time. As summer fades into the back-to-school season, that sense of time speeding up hits hard. On August 25, 2025, Catelynn posts the kind of update that makes any parent's stomach flip. Nova stepping into 5th grade and Vida starting kindergarten. She calls them my babies and my girls, and it lands like a heartbeat in writing. Then, on September 2, 2025, she shares another milestone, Raya, their last baby, headed to preschool. It's the kind of moment that feels like closing a chapter you didn't realize you were still reading. Another doorway, another small goodbye to a version of your life that used to be all diapers and naps. Not every update is sweet, though. On September 11, 2025, attention shifts into controversy when Catelynn responds to claims that Tyler faked an autism diagnosis. The situation becomes a public defense of her husband, and it carries that familiar reality star tension, the feeling of having to protect your family in front of strangers who think they know your life. As the year winds down, December brings an unexpected family headline. On December 30, 2025, news breaks that Catelynn's 19-year-old brother, Nicholas Radka, announces he and his girlfriend, Emma Smith, are expecting a baby in May 2026. His words are raw and excited. "Welp, Santa has brought me the greatest gift I've ever received. I'm having a baby, y'all." And suddenly, the family tree is stretching again, new life pushing forward into the next season. That same day, Catelynn shares smaller, deeply human moments too. One post that reads like a tiny heartbreak, end of an era, and another where she gives fans what they ask for, a tour of her Christmas village. It's intimate in a simple way, the glow of holiday lights, the comfort of traditions, the feeling that even when the biggest parts of your story are complicated, you can still build something warm on the table in front of you and invite people to see it. Over the past year, Tyler Baltiera's life feels like it's being lived in two lanes at once. the public story people think they know, and the private, quieter work of trying to understand himself and protect his family. And right now, the most defining shift is one he finally puts into words. In late August 2025, Tyler shares that he's diagnosed with autism at 33, and the way he describes it is raw, complicated, and unmistakably human. He says it feels like a big sigh of relief, like the constant question of why certain things have always felt harder finally has a name. But then the relief gives way to grief, and he admits he feels so sad for that little kid who wondered, "What's wrong with me?" It isn't just a headline, it's Tyler standing in the middle of his own history, rereading it with new eyes. What makes it hit even deeper is how he connects it to being a dad right now. He talks about noticing familiar traits in his daughter Veda, how small things are a huge deal to her, and how that recognition nudges him towards seeking clarity for himself. It's not presented as a dramatic reveal for attention. It lands like a personal explanation he's been searching for his whole life, and now that he has it, he's trying to hold both truths at once, the relief of understanding and the sorrow of all the years he spent feeling not normal. At the same time, Tyler and Catelynn are still navigating the most sensitive chapter of their lives, their relationship to Carly and the reality of an open adoption that keeps tightening. In early 2025, they describe being blocked by Carly's adoptive parents, Brandon and Teresa, and they say they're no longer allowed to send gifts. Catelynn puts a name to what it does to her mentally. She calls it adoption PTSD, saying the pain is something you never really heal from. That kind of grief doesn't come in a clean, single moment. It returns in waves, especially when boundaries change without warning, when access disappears, and when you're left wondering what your place is allowed to be. They also describe taking a pause, after talking with their adoption counselor, Dawn, stepping back rather than pushing harder in a situation where the adoptive parents control contact. And then there's a moment that feels especially heavy. They hear Carly is doing well, and they're shown a video of her singing, but they say they're not allowed to view it privately the way they ask. Not long after, they make a firm decision. Catelynn and Tyler say they stopped publicly discussing Carly's adoption anymore. It reads like a boundary drawn out of exhaustion and protection, not anger. Like two people realizing that some parts of their family's story can't survive in public without getting hurt. In the spring, Tyler also confronts a different kind of violation when leaked images of Carly circulate online. He calls it heartbreaking, saying he's disappointed beyond words, and he points out the hypocrisy of people condemning him and Catelynn while spreading Carly's actual image. He emphasizes they haven't shown her face in over 11 years because that's what her adoptive parents wanted. It's Tyler insisting out loud that consent and privacy still matter, even when the internet acts like they don't. And while all of that churns in the background, Tyler keeps building a daily life that feels steadier, more grounded. In April 2025, he launches a new lane entirely. He announces he's a certified personal trainer and says he's accepting clients, presenting it as a real, structured career move. Through 2025 into late fall, his social media leans into family and fatherhood, with posts that read like check-ins from inside the house, gratitude, reflection, the pace of the girls growing up. By December 2025, he's still speaking in the language of showing up, emphasizing presence and consistency, the kind of values that sound simple until you realize how hard-earned they are. Taken together, this year doesn't look like one neat storyline. It looks like Tyler naming the truth about his mind, protecting the boundaries around Carly, and anchoring himself in the work of being a present partner and dad, one honest, emotional step at a time. Over the past year, Amber Portwood's world feels smaller, heavier, and far more emotional than it looks on television. What's unfolding now isn't about headlines or shock value. It's about a mother watching her relationship with her daughter slip further away and the emotional fallout that follows. At the center of everything is Leah Shirley. Now 16, Leah speaks with a clarity that lands hard. She openly explains that she can't keep trying with Amber anymore, not because she doesn't care, but because it hurts too much to keep reopening the same wound. She describes the emotional exhaustion of hoping things will change, only to be disappointed again. The moment is sobering. Supported by Maci Bookout and Catelynn Lowell, Leah makes it clear that this decision isn't impulsive. It's protective. She chooses herself. Amber, on the other side of that choice, reacts with raw vulnerability. When she learns that Leah wants Gary Shirley's wife to adopt her, the news hits like a collapse. Amber says she spends 4 months in bed afterward, barely functioning, overwhelmed by grief and fear. She leans heavily on her mother, Tanya, and describes the period as one of the darkest emotional stretches she's experienced in years. For Amber, the adoption request isn't just paperwork. It feels like confirmation that she's losing her daughter for good. Leah, however, speaks with calm certainty about what she wants. She says Christina has been there her whole life, showing up consistently, quietly, without conditions. She doesn't frame it as replacing her mom. She frames it as making official the person who's already raised her. Gary and Christina take Leah seriously enough to consult an attorney, walking through what adoption would actually require, including whether Amber's consent would be necessary and how long a contested process could last. It's no longer theoretical, it's procedural. As these conversations unfold on screen and in the press, Amber publicly pushes back on some of the language being used. She rejects the idea that Leah's experience should be labeled as trauma, insisting that her absence shouldn't be defined that way. The disconnect is stark. Leah speaks from lived emotion. Amber speaks from a place of defense and pain. Neither side sounds malicious, but they are no longer speaking the same emotional language. Amid all of this, Amber also draws a hard boundary with the show itself. In March, she states plainly that she is not fired from Teen Mom. She quits. She says her mental health has to come first, that she refuses to continue in an environment where she feels portrayed as a villain or manipulated for storylines. She describes telling producers she's done, framing the decision as self-preservation rather than defeat. On social media, Amber's presence becomes softer, quieter. In a March Instagram reel, she thanks her supporters, expressing gratitude and love in a moment that feels less performative and more fragile. It's not a comeback. It's not an explanation. It's simply Amber, acknowledging the people still listening. This past year isn't about redemption arcs or neat resolutions for Amber Portwood. It's about rupture, a daughter choosing distance, a mother confronting loss while trying to protect her own mental health, and a family standing at a crossroads where love still exists, but access, trust, and connection no longer come easily. Over the past year, Ryan Edwards' public life shifts into something that feels quieter on the surface, but emotionally loaded when you look closer. Instead of chaos spilling into the open, the biggest headlines now circle around family milestones, legal finality, and a relationship moving at full speed. And the story plays out in two places at once, in court documents that lock in what real life looks like, and in his own social posts that keep repeating the same message without saying it outright. This is a new chapter, and he wants the world to see it that way. One of the clearest official moments lands in the glow of a snow night bonfire, when Ryan posts a proposal scene and confirms he and Amanda Connor are engaged. The atmosphere is intimate and cinematic: cold air, firelight, family gathered close, and Ryan drops to one knee while Amanda reacts with pure emotion. It's not framed like a flashy announcement, it's framed like a turning point, the kind that's meant to feel grounded and real. That single post becomes a public anchor for everything that follows, because it's Ryan speaking as Ryan on his own page, documenting the moment as fact. Not long after, the big life updates stop being abstract and start becoming official. News coverage confirms that Ryan and Mackenzie Standifer finalized their divorce and lock in a detailed custody and child support plan for their kids. The reporting focuses on specifics, not vague statements. Mackenzie is identified as the primary residential parent, and Ryan's visitation is outlined with a phased schedule. A monthly child support figure is reported at $613. It's the kind of update that doesn't come with dramatic music, but it changes the shape of everything around it. It's paperwork, yes, but it's also closure, a line drawn under one part of the story. And then, almost immediately, another chapter starts writing itself in bold ink. Coverage confirms Ryan and Amanda welcome a baby girl, with her name and birth details publicly reported. It's a milestone that pulls the tone of the entire year into a different space, less about tension and more about a family forming in real time. The way the year reads from the outside is simple: engagement, birth, and then the next leap. Because the most recent news confirms Ryan and Amanda are married, and the timing is presented as strikingly close to the finalization of his divorce terms. That's not framed as rumor or guesswork. It's stated as a confirmed status change, a life event that lands with weight. In the same 12-month window, Ryan's own Instagram posts keep reinforcing the same image: family-first messaging, visible stability, and an end-of-year tone that reads like punctuation. He shares a holiday Happy Easter moment that's small, normal, and deliberately domestic, and then later posts again in late December, quiet updates that feel like he's signaling, without spelling it out, that he's closing the year in married, blended family mode. Even the broader teen mom world reflects that shift. Coverage highlights a vacation moment with Maci Bookout and their son Bentley, framed as a visible improvement in co-parenting, calmer, more cooperative, and openly present. And on-screen reporting describes Ryan involving Bentley and Amanda's son Brandon in the proposal setup, a deliberate choice that centers the kids and frames the relationship as something built with the family, not around it. Taken together, the last 12 months don't read like a scattered tabloid storm. They read like a fast-moving reset, legal finality, a public engagement, a baby's arrival, and a confirmed marriage, paired with social posts that keep returning to the same theme, over and over, like a quiet refrain. Ryan's story, at least in what's verified and public right now, is not about what might happen next. It's about what is happening now. Family milestones locked into the record, and a life being presented as newly anchored.